anyone remember Life with Derek? Well, this is basically the same thing, but the protagonists are blasting Sweet Home Alabama 24/7 because not only are they step-siblings, but also exes. Yep, pretty controversial stuff. It almost sounds like those videos from Orange YouTube. Wink, wink. Okay, let's stop with the dirty jokes and talk about Mamahaha no Tsurego ga Motokano datta. Didn't they have a shorter name? Mizuto and Yume, both teenagers of the same age, literally born within minutes of each other, share the same interests such as reading. They have good grades at school, they're very smart, and all that. One day, their parents meet, they date, and go live together. So, there's no problem, right? If they're so alike, surely they'll get along. No, because Mizuto and Yume used to be a couple. Yeah, a couple. And now they live together as step-siblings, and they have to behave as such. And you know what they say, where there was fire, ashes remain. So, as to not mess with their parents' relationship, and more importantly, which of the two is the older sibling, they decide to establish some boundaries and rules for a game. For starters, they have to forget that they used to date, and should treat each other as siblings, which means they can't refer to each other by their first or last names. This makes more sense in Japanese, you know. They can't be jealous if the other gets a couple, they can't make advances toward each other, and, well, you get the idea. The first one to lose becomes the younger sibling, and the winner the older one. And after that, the loser will have to obey an order from the other. With all this explained, let's continue with the story. In Mizuto's room, where they established the rules for the game, Yume starts going through his books to annoy him, and he can't say anything because she's his stepsister. I don't know, man, the Japanese, they're pretty weird. Mizuto manages to hold back, but when Yume is about to open the drawer where he keeps the porn, he starts to apologize, saying he doesn't want to bother her and that he doesn't want to keep fighting. This brings Yume some bad memories from when they first met and when they were dating. Falling for Mizuto's mind games, she calls him by his last name and boom, she loses. So, come on Yume, call us Oni-chan. After Mizuto does a little trolling and humiliates Yume a bit too much, the two youngsters start going to class and their whole plan of acting like they don't know each other goes to shit because not only do they go to the same school, but also the same class, and they now share the same last name. So Mizuto's classmates take advantage of this to try to become his friends in order to hook up with his stepsister. And that's how they are, huh? You can't trust anyone. One day, their parents told them that they will get home late, and Yume, in order to tease his stepbrother, leaves the bathroom and walks all around the house wearing only a towel. And he, as the gentleman he is, covers her with a coat. But the situation changes rapidly because Yume trips, falls on the couch, and Mizuto ends up on top of her and says that he doesn't mind breaking the rules for today. Mizuto was about to kiss her, but their parents arrive right at that moment, so our video doesn't get taken down, and Yume hides somewhere. During class, we meet Akatsuki, who becomes Yume's friend and gets very clingy with Mizuto, and this girl is extremely serious about it, since she puts on a costume and follows him everywhere to get married. Yeah, you heard that right, get married, just to be Yume's sister-in-law since she admires her. To get her off his back, Mizuto calls his new friend by obligation, called Kogure, who used to be Akatsuki's boyfriend, and knows that when she wants something, she will stop at nothing until she gets it. So, for her to leave him alone, and taking advantage of the fact they had a punishment for each other due to an incident involving each other's underwear, Mizuto forces Yume to have a date with him without knowing that Akatsuki was watching them, so that she would leave Mizuto alone. But this was all for nothing, because this clingy girl didn't care at all and still wanted to marry Mizuto. Okay, maybe it wasn't completely useless because they talk about it for a bit, about how the relationship was and why they broke up, which I will tell you a bit later. That same night, because Yume still had a punishment for Mizuto, she forces him to pose and model using some glasses and making him hug her. Boring. When Mother's Day arrives, after Mizuto prays to his mom's altar, he goes to spend the day at Kogure's house, and Yume goes to Akatsuki's house so that their parents can have some time alone. Coincidentally, these two live right next to each other, so the four of them were kinda dating. They went out to eat and all that, and they have a moment where they relive memories from the past while looking at the moon, and they talk a bit about how bothersome it is to behave like step-siblings. We also see that she's very studious. Very, very studious. I mean, very well, you understand. And it's all because Mizuto is so smart that he passes tests without studying, and since she's very competitive, she always wants to get higher grade. After learning he let her get a higher grade in a last exam, she got mad with Mizuto, and he said, well, okay, this time I will take the test seriously. And so Mizuto got in first place, and Yume understood that even if she got in second place, then nothing would change, and nobody would treat her badly just because of that. So she thanks her friends who were congratulating her, and realizes that Mizuto is the only one that understands her, since he let her have the first place because he knew it was important for her. But when things appear to be going well, everything starts to go wrong, because Yume finds Mizuto talking to another girl, Higashira Isana, who was reading the same book as him, and they became friends, something that makes Yume feel really jealous. And since Mizuto is not clueless, he realizes what's going on, so he seduces her a bit and makes her break the rules by blushing and making her flustered. Then he takes advantage of the punishment to make her tell him what's going on, and she confesses that she felt jealous. Mizuto introduces Isana to Yume and Akatsuki, and they try to get along, going out for a drink to know each other better, and they kind of become friends. And Akatsuki promises that she and Yume will help her win over Mizuto. They tell her to get close, rub her personalities on him, and all that. So the next day Isana arrives being all dressed up and tries to approach Mizuto, but he simply starts to ruffle her hair for inviting his personal space. Since they saw their plan didn't work, they tell her to confess. Yeah, just like that, a direct approach. Who wouldn't want to be Mizuto, eh? But as I was saying, the girl confesses her love, and despite acknowledging that they get along well and would make a lovely couple, he's already interested in someone else, referring to Yume, even though he says he doesn't even know if she deserves him. And Yume, who was eavesdropping with Akatsuki, bursts into tears because she knows Mizuto would be happier with Isana. Anyway, since Isana doesn't give up, she asks Mizuto if she can go to his house, and because they would be alone in his bedroom, Yume stays to watch over them. But when Isana went to the bathroom, she met her parents. They started asking if she was Mizuto's girlfriend, and in order to not say she got rejected, she said they used to date and are just friends now. While Mizuto was walking her home, Isana tells him that she still didn't get over his rejection, but she will try to put it aside to continue being friends, something that leaves Mizuto thinking, and he wonders what could have happened if he kept being Yume's friend instead of dating her, unleashing a bunch of old memories with Yume. He starts to remember the day they met, their first kiss, their promises about always staying together, the first time Yume went to his house, and all that. They were really happy, and they were always together because they were both introverted and didn't know many people, mostly because Mizuto wasn't really interested in anyone else until he met Yume, and it was this disinterest that caused their breakup, because when Yume made new friends, she didn't spend as much time with Mizuto as before, and this affected him since he became very dependent on her and started complaining that she didn't spend time with him anymore. In the end, Mizuto was extremely toxic, unbelievable. Yume rejected her friends so that Mizuto wouldn't stay mad and spent some time with her boyfriend, but when she came looking for him, he was talking to another girl, and she got jealous, very jealous, and I mean very even though he apologized for being toxic, now she was being toxic and complained because he was with that girl, although the truth is it was the first time they were talking, and it was only so he could get a book recommendation. They started to become more and more distant until they met again, and Mizuto apologized in an attempt to make up, and since she didn't do the same, and apparently wasn't trying to fix their relationship, he got mad, and now it finally went to shit, and they broke up. Going back to the present, many things happen. In a stormy night, Yume sees a cockroach in her room and goes to sleep with her stepbrother. Another day, Mizuto accompanies her to buy a swimsuit for the summer, and they watch a movie with Isana, who, with supreme confidence, lies down on Mizuto's lap, which makes Yuna super jealous. And because Isana is not shy at all, she gets the idea to kiss Mizuto, but his sister stops them, telling them that this was something very important and had to be a good memory, and I don't know, so Isana goes home. And when Yume's mother returns, she asks her what's up, and she tells her how she was scratching her tits with complete impunity, and yeah, that's it. One day, they go with their family to meet Mizuto's grandmother and his cousin Madoka, who after talking for a while with Yume, begins to suspect that she's interested in Mizuto, more than just brothers, and and she tells her that she envies her because Mizuto didn't even open up his feelings for her or anything like that. And with that, Yume understands how important she was, or is, for him. At night, Yume finds Mizuto reading his great-grandfather's autobiography, who was a prisoner in Siberia. And he lets Yume read the journal because, well, he doesn't care, even though nobody else read it. And when Yume reads it, she lets a tear fall on the very same page Mizuto also teared up when reading it for the first time. Now this is Kino. Anyway, after reading it, she asks Mizuto what his first love was like, and he answers that he could say she really smiled a lot. And since Mizuto's cousin is always smiling, she thinks it's her, as if this anime couldn't get even more Alabaman. The other day, Madoka takes the opportunity to ask Yume if she likes Mizuto, and to help her, she leaves them alone so that Yume may leave the breakup with her first love behind. But she doesn't manage to say anything and starts crying in Mizuto's arms, who tells her that because of that day, they can go back in time. Once they calm down, Yume asks him about his cousin, and he says she has nothing to do with it, implying he was actually talking about Yume. During the summer festival, while Mizuto was looking at the stars, he realizes how he never cared about anything ever since he can remember. Everything seemed surreal and irrelevant. Nobody seemed interesting to him until he read his great-grandfather's journal, and that sparked an interest for books and the stories one could find in them. And he also remembered how after meeting Yume and feeling bad for her, it was the first time he cared about someone. Yume arrives and sits beside him while they continue talking about the relationship until the fireworks start. Mizuto gets emotional and begins crying, and with the fireworks in the background, Yume finally kisses Mizuto and decides to try and win him over again. They understand that after what happened, they can no longer go back to that time where they dated and were happy. But after accepting they didn't get over it yet, they can create a new story, just like in the book. And that's how this ends for now. I can't say for certain if the story will continue or not, but we'll see in the future. Thanks for watching.